The Giants may have poked and prodded around with the idea of selecting a quarterback in round 1, but ultimately stayed put at 6 and selected LSU wide receiver Malik Nabers, who has star potential. The Giants have desperately tried to locate a wide receiver 1 since trading away Odell Beckham Jr. many years ago. It's been like Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner. Swing and a miss, swing and a miss. It's been elusive. It's been evasive. Kind of like Malik Nabers, who has the ceiling of a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. Nabers is one of the more explosive and exciting wide receivers to enter the draft in quite a while. He's a YAC master with elite contact balance. And we're going to go through a lot of his film. And then a little bit later on in this video, we're going to go through his strengths, his weaknesses, my synopsis from my evaluation I did a few months ago, and also what he offers the New York Giants immediately. There's a ton of potential here, so strap in. But before we get into the tape, let's hear what General Manager Joe Schoen and head coach Brian Daboll had to say about their new star wide receiver.
Yeah, we're excited to get Malik. He's a guy who's been on our radar for quite some time as an explosive playmaker that can play multiple spots, can separate, has run after the catch, very good hands, very productive, and in a difficult conference. So look forward to getting here tomorrow, and then getting him in the building a couple weeks from now, and as we get him in with the rest of the players in our culture and developing him and competing for his play time.
Joe, what really stood out when you saw Malik in person?
I think at that position, the toughness, and the competitiveness. Some of the best ones I've been around, they have that. Because again, there's going to be 20-some receivers taken in between today and tomorrow and Saturday, and what separates all the guys that are 6 foot, that are 200 pounds and run 4.45, because there's a bunch of them out there. And to me, it always goes back to that grit, that toughness, the tenacity. You can't coach that. You can't teach that. And I think this kid possesses those traits.
You've heard the men. They prioritize toughness, grit. We know Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll preach smart, tough, and dependable. We know that they require their wide receivers to understand where to be and how to create separation. And Malik Nabers, he has a lot of these traits. And I want to go through some of these plays. This isn't the All-22. We'll get to that a little bit later. But here's just some plays of him showing toughness and creating yards where they're not going to be there. YAC, yards after the catch. He does this through his acceleration, his explosiveness, and all the traits that we hear so much about him. But he also has incredible contact balance, and I want to highlight that here. Here are some plays from 2022. It looks like his knee hit the ground there, but still, the fact that he pops back up, and the ref also plants this, where he ends up getting the first down, as you can see here. The hands catch, the extension away from his frame. It just shows the competitive nature. And I think that's the culture that is attempted to be cultivated right now with the New York Giants, is through competitiveness. And you can see it all throughout Malik Nabers' tape. One other thing about Malik Nabers that I absolutely love, and you're going to see this throughout a lot of these highlights, is his ability to quickly and promptly get upfield after catching these quick little hooks. Look, the Giants run a lot of quick game. Their quarterback, he doesn't necessarily throw down the football field all too often, but he can operate a quick game offense. And if you have Malik Nabers in quick game, it doesn't have to be a slant to the house where your momentum is going forward. It can be a little button hook where you catch the football like this and watch, automatically secures it. And now he's just evading the defender who was trying to cover him. And I think in my scouting report, I said he was annoying to tackle. And that's a really good way to describe Malik Nabers. Just a very annoying player to tackle. You can see on this play, he catches the ball, gets the first down, and watch him drop his weight, try to spin off of the tackle. And you have 3 Tennessee defenders converging on him. And you can see how he sinks himself. He makes himself a lot heavier than he is because he has such good lower body strength and such good core strength, a load to bring down. And he gets suplexed there a little bit, but you can see throughout his tape, just all of these traits that are so translatable on Sunday and are rare. There are a lot of players in the NFL who do not possess this type of ceiling. Catches his button hook, feels the leverage of the defender and where the defender is coming from, and then spins opposite of that leverage to get north and south. And then it's just quick acceleration from that point, just making defensive backs miss as they dive after him. And then it takes like 4 or 5 guys to bring him down to the deck. See here? Makes number 18 miss. Runs out of the arm tackle, just keeps going, keeps going. The Florida Gators are having a rough time in the swamp, as they say. Now we're going to see this play against Army in 2023. Screens. Giants have not been able to run an effective screen game in quite some time, ladies and gentlemen. But on this play, he makes this catch. The defender is not in position, so let's be fair. But if you're not in position in the NFL, Malik Nabers will still make you pay. It doesn't have to be these Army cadets that are getting toasted like this. You can just see the athletic ability, the agility, any type of adjective you want to use to describe his athletic traits. use it because he has all of that in spades. And it's one of the reasons why I'm very excited about this pick and this selection. This is back in 2023. You're going to see a lot of jet sweeps. You're going to see a lot of play action slides. Look at how Kafka and Dable have run this offense. Plays like this, you're going to see where it's just a quick jet sweep, touch pass, things of that nature. Get him off to the edge just with a little bit of leverage. He has some good running back vision too. He sees his blocks well. Don't expect him to be a punt returner because he wasn't really all that successful when they asked him to do that at LSU. But you give him a crease, he's going to take it to the house. As you can see here, it's just making defenses pay. And the Giants have just desperately lacked explosive plays, as I've talked about ad nauseum at this point. Here's another example of how he just quickly gets north to south, gets yards after the catch. This is one of the reasons why he led the FBS in yards after the catch. It wasn't just because he was catching these long slot fades that Jaden Daniels threw so well to him. It's also because he makes these little comeback and curl catches, creates a lot of separation at the top of his break, and then just quickly accelerates. It's very good at feeling where that defender is. The spatial awareness is elite in that regard. Look, I still think there's development to be had with the route running, but he has the athletic traits that allow him to be an elite route runner. And if you get him with Mike Groh, I think you can refine maybe some of the crispness in and out of his breaks. It's still explosive. It's still just shooting out of a cannon. He has a first, a second, and a third gear, but he can sink his hips, disguise his intentions up his stem, and then confuse cornerbacks. And that's going to translate on Sunday as well. You can see it right here. Just sink his hips. Oh, it's going to be a curl. It's going to be a comeback. When you run 3 or 4 curls and comebacks against this defender throughout that game, he's going to react this way. He's going to sink his ass down. He's going to drop his weight, and he's going to try to plant and drive downhill and get his momentum going back towards the line of scrimmage. But Malik Nabers, watch how effortless this is for Malik Nabers. Sinks the hips, stutter, and then you can see how that inside foot is planted in the ground. You can see his shoulders, they're dipped. Everything looks like he's turning around, and then it's just exploding right back up, and then it's that immediate second gear. This defender actually didn't handle it that badly for a UAB defender. It's this immediate second gear that Malik Nabers has as he accesses it, and you could see him through contact. He fights through this contact well up his stem. I think he is stronger than he's given credit for. You don't see him really protect his chest much with his hands and press coverage. That's one thing I think that he can show when he gets to the NFL level. He's much more about, I'm going to run around your jam attempt at the line of scrimmage, but he is still stronger than a lot of people give him credit for. Is he Rome Odunze strong? No, but he's still a strong wide receiver. And then the concentration and the tracking into his hands. See him get his eyes up. Look, eyes. Flash those eyes, baby. Get him located on the football. Use your hands to shed the contact. Run towards the sideline. Know where you are on the football field. Know how much space you have from the numbers to the sideline. Malik Nabers does. Makes that catch. Does a little front flip. Strut yourself. There you go. Here are just some other catches. This would have been a touchdown with a better throw. Here are just some other catches through contact. You can see the toughness being used by Nabers there. And here's the route that got him there. Sink the hips. Get 3 to stop, especially when you're working into a DB's blind spot. Like in zone coverage, where you can see 3. He has his ass towards the sideline. He's trying to use his peripheral vision to see what Malik Nabers is doing. And he's probably, if there's going to be another vertical wide receiver, I don't know if there was on this specific play, going to midpoint Malik Nabers and that inside wide receiver. But Malik Nabers understands this. Malik Nabers knows he can work into the blind spot of this defensive back, sink his hips, get this defensive back to stop his back pedal, stop from gaining depth, and then explode right back into his blind spot once the weight of the defensive back is sunk. And that's exactly what happens. It gets them all turned around, man. And it's easy touchdown with a better throw. Instead, it's a little bit underthrown. I think Jaden got hit on this play, and Nabers makes the catch and gets tackled. And on this play, this is against another program. It's not a huge FBS program or anything like that, but he was doing this against Alabama, Malik Nabers. So that's not necessarily a concern. But I just wanted to point out the route running again and how he just gets this safety, I think it is, turnaround. If you ever get a safety against Malik Nabers, like just cash it in. It's more than likely going to be a touchdown. But watch how he points to Jaden upfield. He's saying, I'm not going to run to the corner. I think this was an adjustment by Malik Nabers based on the spatial relationship that this defender had and how this defender did not move. So the defender angles his hips this way, and then Malik Nabers sees that this defender is starting to open his hips outward like it's going to be a corner route. And Nabers just points upfield, just throw it upfield, Jaden. I'm not 100% certain if that's the case, but there was no one else in the middle of the field. And it seems like Malik Nabers recognized that, because you can see how Malik Nabers whips his head. Looks like he's exploding back to the corner. Has that foot he's about to put a lot of weight on that foot to the outside. his shoulders are starting to turn like he's going outside. And I think Nabers understood that he got this defensive back at this point. So then he just points to Jaden Daniels, hey, throw it deep in the center of the field. Daniels did, read the coverage, made the catch, got his ass in bounds. Not 100% certain if that's accurate, but hey, shows something about his awareness when running routes, which you can also see throughout his tape when Jaden Daniels was being Jaden Daniels and exercising his creativity on the defense, if we will. Here we have some plays against Alabama. This is just tightrope, insane concentration. This is from 2023, where you can see him make this catch. He gets 1 foot down, tracks it into his hands. And he has a few catches like this throughout his tape where he's Amani Tumoring on the sidelines like this. Just, yeah, it's 1 foot. In the NFL, it's going to have to be 2. But this is still elite concentration and a very difficult play to make for a wide receiver. And now I want to talk about some contested catches, too, that he had on his tape. Because, look, Rome Odunze was a contested catch guy. 75% contested catch rate is just absolutely insane. Malik Nabers, he doesn't command as much and demand as much at the catch point, but he's still good at the catch point. And he still flashes his hands. He has very strong hands, effortlessly plucks the football out of his hands and then gets north to south, secures it. He had some concentration drops earlier in his career. It hasn't been a huge problem, and that might happen a little bit in the NFL, but he has good hands, and you can rely on him if you have a one-on-one situation where you trust Malik Nabers to defeat the cornerback, which I think the Giants might be in that situation more than we have been in recent memory. But on this play, you could see this is thrown to the back shoulder. Nabers is able to adjust his body, track the football, jump, high point the football over the cornerback, and then get 1 foot in bounds. Very, very good football play right there. As if it's a baseball play, Nick. What are you talking about? You're going to see this. Makes the catch, feet in bounds, handles it through contact. Now we have a couple plays against Alabama. Just blows right past this defensive back, gets the feet in bounds. High point the football. Do not allow the defensive back any space to make a play on. Don't give them PBUs. Malik Nabers doesn't. Gets the foot in bounds, rough through contact, the ground, I mean. It's beautiful. Beautiful catch, beautiful concentration. Now we're going to see a couple plays against Kool-Aid McKinstry, who is going to be a pick in the second round, more than likely, of this draft. A very good football player. This is going back to 2023, I believe, some of these plays. You can see the release first off, because Malik Nabers doesn't have this expansive release package, but he can fire his feet and step on a million ants at the line of scrimmage and then dip his shoulder and look at him fight through contact. If you watch the Arkansas game from 2023, they were contacting him so frequently. I'll talk about that a little bit later. And he was able to battle through that contact. But watch how he extends for this football. And as Kool-Aid McKinstry is trying to knock it out, he keeps it away from Kool-Aid. Doesn't like the Kool-Aid man. Makes that catch through contact. Just a good play by Malik Nabers, showing strength at the catch point. He's much stronger than he's given credit for. Here's another one against Kool-Aid McKinstry. He's one of the top defensive backs in FBS. Jaden Daniels just delivers a dart, makes a catch, secure it. Now here's a play against Georgia where we're just going to see speed, and this is really just a really good throw at a bad angle by this Georgia safety, going back to 2024. But I also appreciate how he recognizes this coverage. He sees it's too high. He runs around this cover 2 corner, who is playing inside leverage, inside trail, it looks like. So this safety had to be over the top. It's just he didn't take the right angle. But you can see how Malik Nabers just expands towards the sideline, and the throw is just on target enough for Malik Nabers to catch this. You can see how tight this threading of the needle is. And also, you love the elevation skills, the hands, the concentration right into his big mitts. Now we have another play. This is from 2023. Just diving touchdown catch. I believe this is against Kansas State. Good throw. Give your wide receiver an opportunity to make this catch. He's a highlight reel waiting to happen. That's what Malik Nabers is. You can give him a screen. You can give him a jet sweep. He could take it to the house. You could throw a slant in quick game. You could throw a button hook in quick game. He could take it to the house, and he can make these plays down the football field if you throw it to him. And that's why he does these dances. Even if the New York Giants still suffer from a quarterback who was a little bit reluctant to let the ball just fly out of his hands through tight windows down the field, Mike Kafka and Brian Dable, they're going to find ways to leverage Malik Nabers' skill set in a successful manner through screens and short usage and pre-snap usage, jet motion, orbit motion, return, slide, and in or out motion to create natural rubs and coverage confusion for the defense. These were all methods of creating easier separation off the release that Brian Dable and Mike Kafka have used over the last 2 years. Although we can't see it here on this play, Nabers is the fast four with the running back to that side on this verticals concept versus the 3 high. And if we look at this play, you can see how Nabers, he's used in motion and then it's snapped. You have an inside release and Nabers becomes the number 2. So what that does with the running back to that side is those apex defenders, those second level defenders, they're paying attention to number 3. They're paying attention to the running back. And you have this cornerback up at the top of the screen who is going to be forced to midpoint play the outside guy, be wary of him in the deep third, and also be wary of Malik Nabers, who is immediately a threat to his side because this safety is going to be drawn away by the deep horizontal cross. It's putting that defender in conflict. Brian Dable and Mike Kafka use this specific type of motion to bring a 2x2 set to a 3x1 set right off the snap and then flood a zone and put a defender in conflict. And the quarterback recognizes it. And you can see how that middle of the field closed safety bites down on that horizontal cross. You have 2 defenders paying attention to the running back in the flat. They don't have deep responsibility. Now you're going to have 2 targets deep. And this defender up at the top of the screen is put into a bind. Jane Daniels notices it and throws a strike, catch through contact, touchdown. And then this play. That is something we are going to see with Malik Nabers, with Jalen Hyatt and Wan'Dale Robinson. And then we have this play that we saw so much through 2022 and 2023. It's just play action, slide. Now you have a lead blocker. It's going to be Daniel Bellinger. And you have number 2 clearing out. It's going to be a wide receiver, whether it be Darius Slayton or Jalen Hyatt. And Malik Nabers is now on the flat. You just dump the football off to him. This end man on line of scrimmage is unblocked. You don't need to allocate a blocker to him. As you see, he's going to be tasked to read. Jane Daniels doesn't hand the football off on this RPO because he sees this end man on the line of scrimmage stay. So Jane Daniels takes it. And now, after not handing the football off because the defender accounted for that, you have 2 options. You can run it, Jane Daniels, but the defender accounts for that, or you can just dump it off to Malik Nabers with 2 blockers in space to block the 2 defenders. That's exactly what LSU does. And we're going to see this from Kafka. We're going to see this from Dable. And when you have this type of speed and this type of acceleration and this type of game-breaking ability, Malik Nabers can catch this, get outside the numbers, get north to south, and then just score a touchdown just like he does against Auburn on this play. Now I'm just going to run through some of my notes on Malik Nabers as we play some of these plays in the background. Look, Nabers was productive in the 11 games as a true freshman. He started 6 that season, which helped earn him SEC All-Freshman honors. He's one of only 2 players in LSU history with back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons as a wide receiver, which he accomplished over his final 2 collegiate seasons. Malik Nabers finished with 3,003 yards, just surpassing Josh Reed's record for the most career receiving yards in LSU history. LSU, some people say, is wide receiver U, so it's just kind of crazy that Malik Nabers is the record holder for career receiving yards at that program. Pro Football Focus graded Nabers as the top wide receiver in offensive score and by receiving V, a grade for pass routes. He also ranked 3rd overall in yards per route run of players that received 20% of the team's targets, of course. He recorded a 3.64 yards per route run in 2023, which helped him secure a unanimous All-American bid. He was also a finalist for the Biletnikoff, but Ohio State's Marvin Harrison Jr. won that honor. Nabers aligned across the offensive formation. 56.4% of his collegiate snaps were in the slot and 43% were out wide. He also took snaps from the backfield, proved useful in every role Ed Orgeron and Brian Kelly asked him to execute. Nabers opted to not test in the 2024 NFL Scouting Combine, but he did at the Pro Day where he ran a 4.38 with a 1.56.10, jumped 42 inches in the vert with a 10.9 broad and 15 bench press reps of 225 pounds at 199 pounds and just over 6 foot, just under 10-inch hands, 31 3/8 inch arms. And here's my synopsis of Malik Nabers. Just going to get right into this. Malik Nabers is a wildly agile route runner with elite flexibility and burst, a nightmare to guard in one-on-one situations. Everything Nabers does on the football field is sudden. His movements, release, how he can quickly explode, out of his micro movements to tie up defensive backs, and even how he secures passes and quickly finds the advantageous path to create yards after the catch. Few receivers possess his level of twitch with his bend fluidity that allows him to disguise breaks and cuts. His ability to keep cornerbacks guessing and on their toes, quite literally in some cases, is one of the many reasons why he's being discussed as a top 5 pick. He went 6th. Nabers is outstanding at creating yards after the catch, and he has the home run ability to take a slant for 6, similar to former LSU Tiger Odell Beckham Jr. But there's still plenty of meat on the bone of development for Nabers as a route runner. His route running upside is immense for several reasons, but I wouldn't say he's consistently maximizing the leverage he creates or can create. He doesn't always stack after winning with his lateral release method, and he sometimes rounds his breaks. It's not the biggest deal, but it can be cleaned up. His infrequency of battling press coverage with hands and physicality was tested against Arkansas in 2023. It didn't matter much, as Nabers caught 8 passes for 130 yards with 2 touchdowns, but there was a coaching point for Arkansas to get on Nabers quickly at the line of scrimmage. Nabers also caught 2 curl passes while being harassed up his stem against Arkansas's press. Despite this success, he has to prove and develop ways to defeat more physical press cornerbacks to scratch his immense potential, albeit his play strength is very good throughout other aspects of his game, so I don't think it's going to be a hindrance from a play strength standpoint. Yes, he may lack a physically domineering element to his craft, but he's not weak at the catch point, nor is he someone who falls upon contact. Nabers is quite annoying to bring down to the ground. Surprisingly solid contact balances combined with immediate acceleration that allowed him to rank in the top 10 of college receivers in yards after the catch with 589. Overall, Malik Nabers would be the wide receiver 1 in many draft classes. Some argue that he is in this draft class. He's a well-coordinated receiver who glides when accelerating and effortlessly adjusts to balls when it's in his orbit. He's smart, can create separation against any coverage, and he's good at creating highlight catches and doing the dirty work over the middle of the field. His strong foundation of athletic traits will allow him to leap to the ceiling of his potential. He has a very bright future in the NFL, which I'm so happy that the New York Giants got him. That's my synopsis on him. But this, again, is a player that when you look at what he can do, you see basically every wide receiver trait you need. There are things that can be ironed out, yes, but he has shown the ability to release off the line of scrimmage. Now, he relied heavily on one, but he's shown the ability to understand how to attack leverage in off coverage and while he is releasing off the line of scrimmage. So I'm not necessarily worried about that. I don't know what the glaring weak spot of Malik Nabers is. There really is not one. It's just kind of us nitpicking. And I think if it wasn't for Marvin Harrison being in this draft class, everyone would be singing the praises of Malik Nabers like we sung the praises of Marvin Harrison Jr. And I love Marvin Harrison Jr. I had him ranked a little bit higher than Malik Nabers because I feel like he is more technically proficient. But to be just frank here, the ceiling is higher for Malik Nabers because Malik Nabers has this elite ability to explode and break the angles of defensive backs. It's something that not a lot of wide receivers possess, where you could just take a slant to the house, have 2 guys teed you up, and then if they just misjudge the angle, you're gone. That's going to be a touchdown. And for a team that is desperately, and I'll say it again, desperately needed to create explosive plays, Malik Nabers can do that for you, not just on the vertical plane, but he can do it for you with these button hooks, as you saw through a lot of those highlights. He can do it for you with jet motion. He could do it on drag routes. There are so many ways this guy can impact the offense. And if you really just look at what the defensive coordinator is going up against the Giants, who are they going to game plan for right now? It's Malik Nabers. 26 is not here anymore. We don't know what's going on with Darren Waller. It's obviously going to be Malik Nabers. That's going to open up things for Wan'Dale Robinson, for Jalen Hyatt, and I know a lot of Giant fans wanted a quarterback. I get it. But you got a really damn good football player, somebody with Pro Bowl type of potential, somebody who has top 5 type of potential at his position. And this is a position that there's so much talent throughout the NFL. So I'm excited that Malik Nabers is a New York Giant. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please, if you have not done so already, like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Head on over to bigblueview.com and check out all of our written content on Malik Nabers and the New York Giants. We're going to be covering it extensively throughout the draft process and post-draft. I'm Nick Falato, signing off. Take care, everybody, and have a lovely day.